Hello everybody, I am here today with another fruit that was kindly sent to me by Wanderlust Nursery. If you're interested in growing plants, check out the link in the description below. You can get cuttings of this plant over on their website. What I have today is a really interesting one. This one is called Muntries. This is endemic to Australia, and it is something that is pretty interesting. It looks weird, for one. It's kind of like you took a bunch of hairy blueberries and clustered them together into raspberries. And according to Wikipedia, so take it with a grain of salt, this is the first or one of the first fruits to be introduced to England from Australia. So I've got a few other little fun facts about it, but I'm getting impatient here, so let's give it a try. I'm gonna pull off one of the clusters, and these little blueberry-like things actually do break apart into individual little berries. And I've heard that these are sour, so I'm only going to try one of these at first. They're very spicy, like cloves or cinnamon or nutmeg, something like that, but without like the most prominent flavors of those spices. It kind of has like the aftertaste of cloves or the aftertaste of cinnamon, but not the flavor of cloves or cinnamon themselves, if that makes sense. It's a little bit like menthol. They're sour, but not that sour. 4 or 5 out of 10. Leafy tasting, piney. There's a lot going on. This feels like I am eating a spice. This does not feel like I am eating a berry. So I would say that this is a very useful thing, but not how I am eating it. What I would do is I would take that, I would crush it up and mix it into like a malt cider or like a marmalade or jam, or I would put it into a pie. I would use that as a spice. I would not use that as a fresh fruit. A while ago, I reviewed the Muntries fruit, which was a very interesting looking one. Well, the plant that comes from has edible leaves. The leaves are used as an herb and to make tea. So today, we're going to talk about that. This is Kunzea pomifera, which is the leaf of the Muntries that I reviewed before, but I also have another species, Kunzea mulleri. Kunzea is in the myrtle family, so it's related to things like guava and cloves. This is native to Western Australia, and it was used by the Aboriginal people as like a medicinal thing, mostly for soothing sore muscles and things like that. Kunzea may sound familiar to you if you are into aromatherapy and essential oils. It's used for medicinal properties a lot, but what a lot of people don't know is that it's also edible, and you can use this as a spice and you could use it as a tea. I haven't really gotten a good whiff of this yet, so I'm going to take first the Kunzea pomifera. Rub this between my fingers a little bit. Give that a whiff. It's not very strong, but kind of like in the direction of like rosemary. So next, the Kunzea mulleri. I wiped my fingers so they wouldn't transfer any of the scent from the other ones, but let's see if this one smells different. It's kind of like the same, like somewhere in the direction of rosemary. And I'm assuming you can eat this raw. I'm not entirely sure, so this is for educational purposes, guys. Normally when you see this for sale, you see it dried. So let's give it a shot. It tastes pretty good. It's a little bit tannic. So using this like I'm having it raw maybe is not the best idea. The flavor of that is good. And oddly, it does actually have a guava flavor. Yeah, somewhere between guava and rosemary. Next, let's try the other one, mulleri. It's not as tannic tasting, that is a pro, but it's not as flavorful. Maybe that one's better when you prepare it. So I'm gonna dry these out and see what they're like after that. Maybe make a tea out of it. So I took those leaves, I dried them out in the oven, and brewed them into a tea. And now, it smells good. It smells different than the leaves when they're fresh. It's kind of like spicy, maybe a little bit like in the direction of like cinnamon kind of smell. Yeah, that flavor is different than how it is fresh. It still has that cinnamon kind of flavor to it, which is odd. I did not get that when I had this fresh. Behind that cinnamon taste, I am getting a little bit of like that herbal flavor of like maybe like a piney rosemary kind of flavor, and a little bit of a fruit flavor like the guava taste it had. That's kind of odd, but all those things, they work. This does not taste like a medicine. This tastes like a spicy fruit herbal tea. This also would be really good just to be used as a dried herb, to have like this in your cupboard and use it in a similar fashion that you would use rosemary. That would make a lot of sense. It's got a little extra spice to it, a little extra fruitiness to it that rosemary doesn't have, but I think that is not a bad thing. Yeah, so as a spice, as a tea, as a like soothing compound for sore muscles, as a fruit, there's a lot of use for this plant. So this is a cool one to try, and it's one that I have never heard of before. So thank you to Wanderlust Nursery for introducing me to this very interesting plant. And I think that's about it. So thank you all for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. I would like to give a shout out to Smarter Every Day, AltPod, and the Harbor Leaf Tea Company. They are mega patrons over on patreon.com. If you haven't heard of it, patreon.com it's how this channel happens. It's how I can afford to keep this YouTube channel going. So if you haven't checked it out, please take a moment to go into the description below and click the link there. I also have t-shirts for sale over at my web store. A link to that is in the description as well. Thanks so much, guys. Bye-bye.